Everything was fine in the morning, but there was something looming around. So I got a walkie-talkie from the ship, and they were
Okay.
like, if something happens, we'll let you know. So we went for breakfast, and then I just hear, "Psst." I'm like, what's going on? And then it happened that the ship was actually blown away. The Moor snapped in half, the gangway fell into the water, and the ship just started floating away onto the other side of the
You
fly.
are joking.
No, seriously. And it was
My goodness.
it was crazy. 500 people on a tour, luckily, not that many back on board. But imagine coordinating for 8 hours until the winds did come down. With 500 people, we had to source a town hall to store the people. We had to feed 500 people in a place which is, well, quite small, really. We had to make sure that everyone is informed.
Hello, everybody. A huge welcome to the Travel Leaders Podcast, where I am engaging with travel industry professionals on the future of travel and key trends. So in today's episode, we're taking a closer look at the operational heartbeat of the UK cruise industry, the logistics, leadership, and precision that keeps everything running smoothly. So my guest today is Bartosz, who is the UK country manager at Comms Destinations, a family-founded business and company supporting some of the world's leading cruise lines. Together, we're going to explore what it takes to keep thousands of tours moving flawlessly and why great travel always starts with great teamwork. So good morning and a huge welcome, Bartosz. Thank you so much for joining me today on the Travel Leaders Podcast. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for inviting me. It's a huge privilege to work with someone that wants to shed a bit of a light on this, well, glamorous from one side, but quite hardworking industry on the other.
Yes, absolutely. So I know that we often talk about the glamorous side of travel, destinations, design, and guest experiences, but we rarely talk about the operational mastery that happens to make it possible. So that's exactly where you come in, because you're the UK country manager, and you work with leading cruise lines like Norwegian, Regent, Princess, etc. But before we get into details, can you just start by telling me a bit more about Comms Destinations, how it began, and what your role is and what it looks like today?
Sure. Tiny company, still was. Well, I mean, when we started, it was just minuscule. But basically, our history, the founder of the company, Kieran Dennis, he's worked within the industry for years and years in Germany, as well as in the UK. And I joined one of his teams all the way back in 2017, 2 years before C&D was actually established. We managed to work together very well. But the company that we worked in, a huge corporation, travel corporation, was
Okay.
rebranded and resold twice over 2 years. And as you can imagine, long-lasting leadership doesn't really stand a chance whenever there is a complete rebrand, reshape, and a resell twice over 2 years. We started seeing huge financial pressures. We started seeing cuts. And that was the moment to separate ourselves from that brand. I was offered the position of a country manager in C&D, which I happily took. It was a great decision, genuinely. That other company now isn't doing so well. And I think, who we are and how we do things really allowed us to be where we are right now. So, yeah, that's the start of C&D. I was employee number one. After that, there was a few people coming in, coming out, but we have a very nice and stable team right now, which I'm very proud of.
That's incredible. And so the fact that you've been there since, its beginning and you've seen all of the progress, it's grown quickly into one of the UK's key partners for cruise operations. What do you think, in your humble opinion, has fueled that success?
I think a blind dedication to what this industry genuinely is. As you mentioned, the glam and the beauty, and that everyone loves to travel. it's a very natural human thing to want to explore. That is just one side. But on the other side, when the operations do happen, we end up really sacrificing so much sometimes, especially during the peak season, that if you don't
Yeah.
understand what this industry truly is, you're not going to succeed as a company or as an individual. So I think
Yeah.
from the get-go, what we started to do is we understood that we are just a little part in this whole thing. And we need to make sure that our clients and their clients, so the guests on the cruise ships, they need to be happy. And during the season, it means that if there is a ship in a port on a Saturday, on a Sunday, on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, then again, Saturday, Sunday, that means that this is your working time. There's not such a thing as a working week. So that blind dedication at the very beginning that continued on till now, and just good relationships with our clients. Some of them followed
That's
us through.
excellent.
Some of them we got after C&D was already established, and we just maintain a very good family-like, I hope, family-like relationship with our clients.
No, that's incredible. It sounds like you are describing great teamwork and a family business culture as well. I love that concept. And as a close knit team of just 8 people spread across London and Scotland, how do you keep such strong collaboration and communication across the business?
Be honest with you, I think this is one of the biggest challenges. So we tried different styles over the years, and we found that creating self-sufficient units is the most important and the best thing that we can do. So while teamworks make the dream work, of course, I understand that, but in such a rapidly changing environment that we work in, and with us being spread around geographically, oftentimes, there is one team in the south taking care of one ship, there is another team in the north, you know, both me and Kieran, the owner, we are spread around as well, either meetings and things. And then whenever there is an operational hurdle that they do happen, whenever there is a challenge, whenever we need to actually finalize things, I need our people to be fully confident in their regions. So this is what I believe is the best decision that we made a few years ago, to divide the UK into little clusters of ports.
Okay.
Not everyone can be a specialist in 28 different ports that we operate. It's pretty much impossible. So we've allowed the people to grow within their little regions, become the center of attention, the center of knowledge for that region. And I'm happy to say, not a single port am I as good as my team, simply because I know more about most ports, but I'm more than happy to make sure that they are better than me in those specialized areas. If anything happens, I can jump in, I can do it. Can I do it as well as them? Probably not anymore. So I'm very proud to have as much training as possible behind each individual to make sure that they are self-sufficient units.
Yeah, I think that's great. And that's really important as well. And great for peace of mind to be able to focus on what's really important. So I see that your role involves coordinating thousands of tours each year across the UK, which is just an enormous task. I can barely sometimes get my family out of the door. So as you can tell, I'm very what you do. What does a typical week look like during the peak cruise season, especially for someone like me who's never spoken to someone on the operational side? Um,
Mhm.
yeah, I'm just really curious.
I mean, a week, again, I think that normal work, normal 9 to 5 is Monday to Friday, a certain time to a certain time. And then you have a Saturday and Sunday off. So that constitutes a week. I look at our work more on the yearly side of things. So we work hard during the season. So whether it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, genuinely during the season, I don't know what day of the week it is. It doesn't really matter unless it's a Saturday or Sunday, because then obviously our suppliers don't work. We are the only ones working. So a normal time period, say a 7-day time period, starting from whatever day to end to at whatever day, is repetition, is a lot of repetition. So it really does depend what region you are taking care of. So let's say one of our team members is taking care of Central Belt of Scotland together with Kirkwall, some of the absolutely most important places in the UK. If there is If there are 3 ships within that 7-day window, then it's quite an easy task if nothing goes wrong. If there are 6, 7, or 8 calls during that window, it changes drastically. The hours of work, the
Okay.
hours you put in, who you're going to put in a port, whether it's going to be you personally. If it's you personally, then you need to juggle being face to face with a client. And then you need to think, okay, in 15 minutes, I need to confirm this, and the other for the day after or the next day after that. Long story short, is just juggling. It's a juggling act to make sure that as much as we are client facing, we are also admin people as well, finding this quiet space in a port where you can just open a laptop, send a few emails in between of tours leaving, then, putting your happy face on, going back to the clients, juggling everything. That is what we do. And this is a standard sort of week, let's say, time period within the high season. It's just, you're never going to know what's going to happen within the next 15 minutes. You need to send emails. You need to make sure that, this guide is going to do this instead of this. It's just constant. But as I said,
I do like that.
it gives us a great reward after the season ends, because then it's our weekend. So you are talking to me during my weekend right now, which is great.
Would love a weekend on a Monday. Variety is the spice of life. So
Absolutely.
I think if you're well accustomed to having variety in your role and no day being the same, it looks like this is the place for you to be, right? What would you say are your biggest moving parts for you and your team to keep track of? Transportation? Is it timing? Is it suppliers? Guest logistics? Yeah, if you could give us an idea.
Is most definitely one of the biggest parts, and this is where some of the biggest challenges come in, is transportation and guide availability. Those 2 things are a key. There are, of course, exceptions to a rule. There are some venues that are quite tricky to get availability for all the right reasons. For all the right reasons, we want to preserve. We are right now experiencing an enormous boom in tourism. We understand that the trusts that take care of the hugely important venues around the UK, they need to also preserve the venues themselves, the sites. So we understand the limitations, but we are somewhere in the middle, always in the middle. The guides are here, the suppliers are here, the venues are here, and then there's a client here. And we need to, make sure that the problems here, they don't affect the solutions that we need to provide on this side. So that is, I think, that the juggling act is the biggest sort of challenge. And what takes out the most time is finding solutions to small problems that, the closer you are to a goal, the bigger the problem grows. So we always try to make sure that we eliminate all the small problems way ahead of time. But sometimes they do creep in, or they create themselves, or they emerge very, very close. And this is what is probably an entire team challenge rather than a single person. So it really does depend. It really does depend. Operations have this beauty, and it's a beauty in disguise, usually, unfortunate. But operations really do present you with a lot of ad hoc challenges that you have to focus, because at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter how you do it. You have to do it, because you are either making or breaking someone's holiday, and we don't like to break someone's holiday. That's for sure.
Really pleased to hear that, because I love to have a good time on holiday. But just to know that you go above and beyond to make sure someone like myself, who I don't think I'm super demanding, but I do like to know that everything runs like clockwork. I'm very regimented. It's impressive to know everything that you do to make things go swimmingly well. So I also know you're not shy when it comes to talking about challenges. So when things do go wrong, how do you and your team stay calm and adapt?
Challenges, to be honest with you, what's the point of talking about all the beautiful things that we end up doing if we completely ignore the challenges? I think one of our questions during the interview process for every single new person is, how would you react to a critical situation? Because they are inherently part of what we do. With work, dissecting exactly what we do, 28 different ports. In each of the ports, we have a number of guides that are dedicated to only one location. Some of them are dedicated to a whole region, but some of them are dedicated to one location. That's a number of those. Then a number of suppliers that supply an X amount of coaches. Some of them, again, dedicated to a region, dedicated to an area, dedicated to a port. The next thing is a very unique set of venues, roadworks, protests, which we are now facing quite frequently. Like we've recently had the march of the political marches in London, which we actually had big ships in London that day. So it's an interesting time to do this. But what is extremely important is to remember to stay calm. And being calm only comes to some comes naturally, but to some it takes time to actually face challenges over and over and over again, to be like, okay, you know what, I've done it before, or you know what, I've been told that this happens and I'm going to be able to actually conquer this. We've had so many situations. I mean, I think the most crazy situations I've ever faced personally was during a storm in Greenock, which is a port just outside of Glasgow. There was a storm and it was a bit of an unexpected one. So the ship still made it in, and unfortunately they moored in. Everything was fine in the morning, but there was something looming around. So I got a walkie-talkie from the ship, and they were
Okay.
like, if something happens, we'll let you know. So we went for breakfast, and then I just hear, psst. I'm like, what's going on? And then it happened that the ship was actually blown away. The Moor snapped in half, the gangway fell into the water, and the ship just started floating away onto the other side of Clyde.
You are joking.
No, seriously. And it was
My goodness.
crazy. 500 people on a tour, luckily, not that many back on board. But imagine coordinating for 8 hours until the winds did come down. With 500 people, we had to source a town hall to store the people. We had to feed 500 people in a place which is, well, quite small, really. We had to make sure that everyone is informed. We had to transport them from that town hall at 11 p.m. to get a short window because the storm didn't want to come down, but they had to dig out the gangway from the water. So there had to be special ops were involved to get that gangway from the water. Otherwise, the ship wouldn't be able to berth. Situations like this is extreme. And some people that worked in the industry for 20, 25 years haven't seen it. I was just unlucky enough, or lucky, I don't know. But situations like this, you can't just be like, okay, I'm going to find a corner and, just hide there. You can't, because there are 550 people that kind of depend on what your next move is going to be. So situations like this happen probably once in a career, hopefully, but equally smaller things happen all the time. Broken down coach at 3 hours drive away from where you are. The ship is asking, where the hell are they? And you need to find a solution one way or the other. You can't leave the people. So the most important thing is to stay calm, collected, and trust the process and start creating a solution. Each and every problem
incredible.
creates a different set of a solution. And, the swan effect. Up top, we are glamorous, we are smiling, we are saying absolutely everything is fine. But under the water, we are pedaling like absolutely crazy to solve the problem. And they do come, and we can't shy away from them. We should be proud on how we solve them. And so far with C&D, I must say I'm very proud of the team, because genuinely, I couldn't ask more of them.
That's incredible. What a great share. You really have shown how you navigate pressure and stay efficient. That story is an absolute mind blow. And so just moving on, the cruise industry has rebounded fast since the pandemic. I've actually become a cruise lover post-pandemic, but with growth comes new pressures too. So what would you say are some of the biggest challenges you're managing at the moment, whether that's staffing, rising costs, or actually changing passenger expectations? Because I know, we're evolving rapidly in this world. And how do you maintain operational efficiency whilst ensuring every tour meets cruise line standards? Because I'm sure they've got a standard that sets the tone for everything that you work towards.
No, of course, yes. The standards are, well, they are set by brand, really. Smaller cruise lines, smaller cruise ships generally require more attention per guest, let's say, and the experiences that we create, the more experiences rather than excursions. So that's one thing. That is quite stable over the years. Nothing really did change. Apart from the fact that we see a little bit less willingness on the side of spending money, even by the richer guests. I think it's just the turbulent times that we are in right now. So that's only natural. Hopefully that's going to go away as quickly as possible. But we see a little bit more hesitant guests when it comes to spending money. That's industry-wide, I believe. But we can see it within our sort of umbrella of clients. But the challenges-wise, I'd say that
I said, yeah, I'd
because
mentioned. Oh,
because
sorry,
of
sorry to interrupt. Before I'd mentioned maybe staffing, rising costs.
yes.
Like you say, you've addressed the other one.
I think right now, because of the growth of the industry and the growth of the UK, obviously with St. Petersburg being closed, not so many ships going into the Baltic region, they had to go somewhere. The UK, Norway, Iceland, Greenland, we are a very nice place to be during summertime. But that comes with another set of challenges. Big ships that would traditionally have enough space in ports that can take them, with areas that have enough resources to supply and to make sure that the demand is met, they now are being rejected by those ports. Now, a ship's itinerary is not so easy to just change. Like, the ship is in that region, we need to find a solution. So instead of going into Edinburgh, let's say, which has all the resources you need, the ships will deviate. They're going to go to Aberdeen. They're going to go to Kirkwall. They're going to go to Lerwick. Instead of going to Invergordon, they are likely going to Stornoway. They're going to Portree. So we are going away from, we still have them, a lot of them. But because of the number of ships that are in a region, there are some alternative solutions that are not as favorable in regards to resources. So resources in scarcely populated areas, when there is a ship with 3,000 guests going into an area, which Portree, for example, if I'm not mistaken, it's 17,000 people, the Isle of Skye. That's 17,000 people with 3 local coaches, and God knows if they are available, next to no local guides. So finding availability in more scarcely populated areas, which are not as ready resource-wise as the bigger centers of tourism. That is, I think, what the growth of the industry did bring. It allowed us to grow in areas that we haven't before. We weren't forced to, which is very interesting. Portree being one of the best examples, I believe. We are very confident there now, but at the beginning it was a bit shaky, I must admit. But hey, you live and learn.
Okay, yeah, no problem. So I'm talking a bit about leadership and teamwork and the more human side of the business. You lead a team of 5 whilst working closely with a wider group across the UK. What's your approach to leadership in such a fast-moving environment?
I think I touched on that, but I can expand. In such a fast-moving environment, sometimes the first thing that you do isn't to ask your team, oh, what should I do? You need to know what, at least at the beginning, you need to know, okay, the plan is this. I'm going to start executing that. We've taken an opportunity and we've taken a leap of hope that training our people to the standard that they are trained is going to be the right thing to do. And it really, really is. So everyone is delegated a cluster of different ports that they are the specialists. They are the main point of contact for all those ports. Whenever there is a problem, we opening it up to the panel. But sometimes, genuinely, we have 15, 20 minutes to solve a problem, an hour. It's not like, we're going to arrange a call. We're going to go on a call. We're going to have a chat about it. There is no time. You need to be as competent in that area as physically possible. And if there is a problem, you should be able to solve it. If you're not able to solve it, problems like this happen. They're unsolvable. They do happen. Luckily, this season, we haven't had a single one like this, but historically we did. And then we open up to a much broader panel, to myself, to everyone else in the team, be like, okay, in the north, this happened. but our expertise in the south already seen a problem like this. How about you try that? So that is,
Yeah,
I
so
think,
good collaboration.
yeah, good collaboration, but above all, high level of training and very, very good expertise on your own region. That is a key, genuinely.
Incredible. And what do you find the most rewarding about working in the operational heart of travel?
We can see the faces of the people. I think if you look at this from an office perspective, so many jobs in all the different industries in the world, once you're in the office, they look somewhat the same. There is a little specification. Okay, so that's a bit different in fashion, that's a bit different in auto industry, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, if you're sitting in front of the laptop and you're solving problems, it looks somewhat similar in most of the time. But here, because we have a unique opportunity to be both high vis wearing people, we're going to be in a port, we're going to be directing guests, regardless of who we are in the company, to wearing suits on expos around the world to make sure that we face our clients. I think the most rewarding part of what we do is seeing people come back from a tour with a smile. And this sounds like a perfect answer, really, but it genuinely is. If we see a cruise guest cruise around the UK, that's quite an expensive region. There is a chance this is the first and last time that they ever going to be in that region. If we do a great job, they're going to go back home and they're going to remember that tour forever. They're going to tell their friends are going to be like, you know what, I really need to visit. And maybe we are able to actually get more people to come into the UK, which is what we are proud about. If we do a great job, they smile, and this just makes our day. Genuinely, it's just the most
That's
rewarding thing that
incredible.
you can have in this industry.
No, that's incredible. I agree with that too. There's something about coming away from an experience, fully full of pride and gratitude. So being a part of that, which you and your company is I can see how highly rewarding that is. So let's talk about the future of cruise operations. Looking ahead, what do you see shaping the future of cruise operations over the next few years?
I think technology. So one of the things that we already actually seen in our company during in COVID, we believed that we need to bring future into what we do, and we need to ditch old systems and create our own. So over the pandemic, we've created a system that aids our operations right now tremendously. It cuts on how long it takes to actually operate and organize a call. That is that. Everyone, AI is a hot topic of everyone's minds. We already see the industry being affected by it. I mean, people blindly believing what ChatGPT is going to tell them. For now, this is not the best strategy, but we see more and more people self-organizing tours based on ChatGPT. And we have tried to, we do work with AI. Of course we do, this is the 21st century, but to create an itinerary and blindly follow that, more often than not, it's not going to work. And we see this right now. Until it's not perfect, then it's going to be a tool that tricks people rather than solves their problems. That's why I see that
Yeah, I
the
think
future will bring.
always going to need a sorry, please go ahead.
No, 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 don't worry. Yeah, I think this is exactly what's going to happen. To be fair, it's we are going to see more and more people use artificial intelligence to aid their planning, and whether that's going to benefit them or not, the time will tell.
Yeah. I think for me, I always feel like you're going to need a human element. I don't need a robot telling me how to do stuff. So I'm fully up for embracing new technologies, as I am. But I just think a human touch in so many areas is going to be valuable, and just learning along the way because, the world's changing all of the time. There's nothing wrong with learning and understanding something, but how you adapt it is entirely a personal choice. But I really love I really like the human touch
I hope you're
of
right.
my
I
itinerary.
hope you're right. Fingers crossed.
Well, let's see. And what's something about the operational side of travel that you wish maybe people more understood?
Mm, maybe how ad hoc events can really throw everything upside down. All it takes sometimes is one road to be closed in center of Edinburgh or London, and we are there for 4 hours trying to create a solution. So, all it takes is a slight change in a route of a marathon for a reason. Because we've already worked for 2 weeks to make sure that all our itineraries are shaped around an event that's happening. And then last minute, the event is changing its course. And all that we've done, we have to start doing again. So while tourism is this thing that people got used to and it feels like it is always going to run smoothly, we need to remember that there are people behind all of this that make it possible. And I think a little bit more time spent, from the decision makers with the travel and tourism would be so beneficial, I think.
Yeah.
Wishful thinking, eh? Wishful thinking.
Well, Bartosz, this has been such an insightful chat. My mind is blown because this is an area that I had no knowledge on. So I really appreciate how much goes on behind the scenes to make everything seamless for cruise guests, especially like people like myself. So before we finish, do you have a favorite UK port or region that's always a pleasure to work with?
You know what? There is this one area that I genuinely like. It's the Cornish ports. So we work out of so many cargo ports. The ships need to go in somewhere. The ports are not glamorous. The destinations are, the ports aren't. But there are some Cornish ports that make me feel as if I'm on holidays. And that's actually quite a nice change. We make sure that someone else's holidays are perfect. But sometimes it's just nice and refreshing to see a palm tree, to sit out and have a coffee in the middle of operations when everything's going well, hopefully. That is a nice, refreshing place. So Torquay, I think, is on top of my list right now, to be fair. But each and every place has something about it. The areas more often than the port.
Brilliant. Is there anywhere that you're looking to go personally, travel-wise in 2026?
So my best friend just 3 days ago called me and informed me that he's getting married in a very manly way. He said, "Yeah, by the way, I'm getting married." So he said, "You know what? I want to spend some time in America before that happens. So would you want to go with me for 2 weeks to the States?" And I couldn't say no. So I'm looking forward to that.
Incredible. Where are we going to?
I think we're gonna go Texas, Oklahoma. I think those two are gonna be enough for 2 weeks. We'll see. Drive
Yeah,
around in
I think
pickup
that's
trucks,
brilliant.
cowboy hats, that kind of deal. Let's see how that's gonna turn out.
That sounds like a huge trip and a lot of fun. I'm very, very jealous. So make sure you keep me informed on that. That sounds
Will
crazy.
be
Crazy fun.
fun.
Good
Absolutely.
stuff. Well, listen, thank you so much for your time. Just quickly before we jump off, where can people in the industry find out about comms destinations or connect with your team?
We on LinkedIn. There is a website. I think I never actually visited that website, but it's www.comms-destinations.co.uk. You can find us easily on LinkedIn. We are communications and destinations. We are all there. So if you need anything, give us a shout.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for your time and hopefully I will catch you soon.
Thank you so much, Gemma. Thank you.
Thank you.